Good evening, everybody. Tonight we are going to discuss autism. What is autism? Autism is a complete lifelong disability. Typically, it appears during early childhood, around the age of around the age between 1.5 to 3, let's say. It can impact a child's social skills, the child's communication, their relationships, and their daily living skills. Autism is defined by a certain set of behaviors. It's a spectrum disorder. What do we mean by a spectrum disorder? It means it affects people differently and to different degrees. So you might have one person that's very mild on the spectrum, which you can't really tell that they have autism. Then you might have another degree where the person is very severe, and you can definitely tell that the person has autism. What are some of the signs and symptoms of autism? Okay, children with autism have problems with body language and eye contact. Usually they won't look you in the eye. And also with body language, they don't use body language like we do. You might see them point from time to time or clap their hands, and that might be about it. Social interaction. They don't socialize well with other children. They prefer to be alone. Building and maintaining relationships. It's very difficult for them to build a relationship with another child or maintain another relationship with another child because they don't have this, the social skills and the play skills they need to build and maintain those relationships. Sensory input. They usually are sensory sensitive. So meaning maybe sound sensitivity, where loud sounds may even cause a meltdown, or they don't like certain textures in their clothing or certain textures food-wise. Rigid behaviors. What do we mean by rigid behaviors? We mean they demand sameness, meaning they want to wake up at the same time, they want to eat at the same time, they want to go to bed at the same time. And once you change something in that routine, they may have a meltdown. They have intense and unusual interest. So maybe they're interested in, say, planets. They will only concentrate on that thing. They don't want to concentrate on anything else. If you buy them a model of a globe, they may even sleep with that globe. Everything revolves around that, and they do not want to have another interest, and they don't want to play with anything else. They only want that one thing. In toddlers, you may notice just delayed speech, maybe no speech, at their age. Using only a few gestures, such as waving or pointing. That is about what you see in the autistic child. They don't usually use other gestures like folding over their hands when they're angry and things like that. Not responding when someone calls their name. Now, this is one that is a big one, because if you have a child and they're 2 or 3 years old and they are not responding to their name, this is a red flag, and you should contact a developmental pediatrician to try to get to the bottom of this, or an educational psychologist. Avoiding eye contact. Now, when we talk about avoiding eye contact, also shy children do that. So it's not only the avoiding eye contact, there should be a couple other symptoms along with that. Not sharing enjoyment or interest with others. So they don't have the interest to play with other kids. They don't have the interest to do games. Usually when you force them to go and play with another child, you'll see they wander off and hide in a corner someplace and start playing with one single object themselves. They have different ways of moving their hands or fingers or body. We call this stimming. And this is actually something that de-stresses the child. It relaxes them when they feel stressed out. So with occupational therapy, this can be a little bit more controlled. Being focused or attached to unusual objects. I've already explained this, but they may be attached to like a car or a globe if they're interested in the planets. A lot of times with cars, they might be only interested in the tire. They might only be interested in, a certain car, not all cars, just this one red or blue car. They might be interested in keys. When they are very focused on attached to that object, they carry it everywhere. They sleep with it, everything, and it's very difficult for the parents to remove that object. So this is a flag when they don't want to play with any other object. They don't imitate or they don't have pretend play skills. Usually in toddlers, they will imitate their parents. So what dad does, what mom does, they like to do the same thing. And they do that through a pretend play. When the child is not doing that, that means that this is a flag and you need to check up on this. Okay, unusual sensory issues. So like I explained before, most children with autism have sensory issues, such as they don't like certain textures of food. If you give them a haircut, they're screaming through it because their scalp is super sensitive. They don't like certain textures of clothes. Most of the time they are sound sensitive. Repeating things over and over and lining things up. When repeating, they will usually repeat things over and over. For example, if you say, "How are you?" they're going to repeat, "How are you?" They're not going to say, "Fine, thank you," and "you." They're going to just repeat what you say. Children with autism, they will take certain objects or certain toys and they will line them up in straight rows. This is also a flag. Milder symptoms that you might not have recognized till the child is in older, like kindergarten or preschool. This is with children that are more on the mild side. Forming friendships. They have problems forming friendships because they're not very social. So usually they want to play alone and not with other kids. Pretend play. They don't pretend. They have to learn play skills. And how do they learn play skills is through occupational therapy. Knowing how to act in certain situations. You will find that in social situations with other children or even within the family, they don't know how to act in that situation. The intense interest in specific topics or specific activity or specific objects. No two people with autism have the same symptoms. Many things play a role, such as language delays, thinking and learning problems, and behavior challenges. This is why we call autism a spectrum, because it affects different people in different ways. How do we treat autism? The earlier the treatment starts is the better. Early intervention is really the key to get your child what they need. Some of the therapies that we use is behavior and concentration therapy, which will help, the behavior, and we use concentration activities and games to help the child's concentration. Speech and language to help their speaking and language development. Occupational therapy. Occupational therapy helps in play skills. It helps in daily living skills. Occupation therapy helps in a wide variety of things. Special education or special education support. Special education meaning for the children that are moderate to severe, and they get full-time special education in a special education center or school. Special education support would be for the more mild to moderate cases where they only need a one-to-one special educator a few times a week. What is the goal of therapy and special education? The goal is to help the children communicate better, learn how to play, learn play skills, learn to be social, and to learn daily living skills. Control the stimming and help their behavior. Like I said, controlling the stimming is through an occupational therapist. Improve their learning and learning to be safe. A lot of children with autism are not afraid of danger. So this is another thing that we focus on and how they can be safe. And that's also through the occupational therapist. If you see that your child may have any of these symptoms of autism, you should contact an educational psychologist or a developmental pediatrician. Thank you for listening and have a great evening.